Hey John, thanks again for being on the Elite Agent Talk for the second time. How you doing, brother?
Hey Dan, good. Good, all
I'm really
exciting
excited
stuff.
yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you today and share with everybody something you got cooking up. How long you been working on this for?
Probably 8 months or more. Yeah, since
Yeah,
initially kind of laying out the outline, the idea of it, and kind of the idea of kind of implementing a guide to really how analytical we are and how kind of my mind works of tracking everything and how it kind of trickles down and obviously helps agents. But yeah,
yeah.
it was a long time to design and put together.
Speaking of helping agents, I want to give everybody a little bit of context. So we've been working together, and when we say working together, like meeting weekly for the last 4 years. And you put me on your website testimonial, so I had to kind of actually look that up and fact check you. But when we first started working, I saw that 4 years ago, my agency was writing about 200 to 250,000 a month. And yeah, I mean, I got to give you a lot of credit, man. I mean, we went through COVID and just so many different changes, the California market, so many constraints and obstacles, but every step of the way, you've helped me adjust and adapt and look at data. And our agency last month wrote 800,000. So
Whew,
just want to,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
just really want to just let you know that, yeah, you're one of the biggest reasons. When I think about teams, a lot of times staff thinks, we think of our teams as who is on our team, but there's a lot of people that could help impact your business. And yeah, you're definitely a big part of our team for
Awesome.
sure.
Yeah. No, I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean
so
that's kind of the rewarding part is seeing kind of the results.
yeah, yeah, and there's so many different results to track. Well, yeah, where should we start? I mean, tell us a little bit about the 12-week recipe to internet lead success.
Yeah, so the idea is that agents like yourself, I mean, you're wearing multiple hats, right? So it's very hard to kind of manage your CRM in a way where it's tracking all the metrics that you need as the decision maker to look at something, to look at reporting, and to easily make an educational decision on what adjustments to make. So we try to make it easy for an agent to take 30 minutes a week to analyze this and use kind of the basically the life of a lead, right? How they become a lead and then how they end up being a customer or a future prospect or whatever it may be. All inside of that, there's over 10 metrics that we can track. So again, a lot that goes into it, but we help make it easier for agents to know where to track what metric is down. And if that metric's down, okay, now we need to go to this producer and help them with these actions, these tasks, which then that's where the time comes into play, where that may be the agent owner working with their team, or it may be sales manager, customer service manager, whatever that may be. So that's where we come in. And again, agents, they spend a ton of money on internet leads. And it's not the best feeling to be spending that much with the little return today. So again, with our strategy, we really help hone in on what is working with the leads, what's not working, make sure everybody's doing their due diligence on the leads, and make those optimizations so you start seeing kind of profit and ultimately a way to scale, which that's where you are. And you pivoted from our calls and you got hit with something and kind of a roadblock, and you just kind of pivoted your ideas, and then we kind of brainstormed new campaigns that can help and kind of launch them. So it's really about just being on top of your business to make sure it's evolving with workflows to follow up with your prospects, and also reporting, which again, they're two hats of an agent that they need to play, and not all of them have that much time to kind of do it.
Yeah. And when I first started working with you, I wasn't looking at any reports at all. I was actually kind of intimidated by them. But you offer so much to agency owners, but can you break it down into simple things that, we talked about the calls, we talked about reporting, but what are some of the things that are new to Little Giant Marketing that you kind of help out agents with the CRM, right? So what would you say?
Yeah, so today, I mean, it's our biggest tool that we could provide to agents for free, kind of complimentary, because we want to educate the agents on how to make leads work and how to kind of work smarter with the metrics. So we offer a free guide. It's the 12-week recipe guide to internet lead success. We say internet lead success, but again, it could be kind of implemented on any marketing kind of platform, whether you're doing Google advertising or obviously with you, Facebook advertising, we run the same, we look at the same type of metrics. So we give that for free, but also on top of that, we offer kind of a 12-week advisor where we meet weekly and really hone in on the guide that steps week to week. And week one, for example, we focus on the first two metrics of when a lead comes in. When a lead comes in, your CRM, if you have one, should be sending out an automated text, automated email, and then the producer should be making that phone call. So the number one thing to track is disposition or status update, where is that producer, whatever happened on that phone call or the interaction or no interaction, moving them from new lead to whatever that next step in the process is to make sure they're in some type of follow-up workflow or in the right place. So we got to do our due diligence on working that lead. So that's kind of the first metric there. The next one is the SMS reply rate. So we measure that how many text replies are coming in from those outbound, and that is really a metric to measure quality and to make sure that the leads are at least conversing with us. But the revealing part of that and the insights to take away from those stats is that they work hand in hand with each other, or they correlate to each other, they drive each other. And that's what a lot of these metrics we want to teach about. So, and what I mean by that is that if you have two producers and one producer is moving 100% of their leads from new lead to whatever stage, right? And then you have another agent that has worked 50% of them, maybe because they're not moving them the right way, they're new training, or they're overwhelmed, they're getting too many leads, they're backed up, or they're wearing multiple hats and you have them in a customer service and sales position, which they can't really focus on both in the right way, which can drive that stat down. So again, your agent A at 100% work rate, your agent B at 50% work rate. I guarantee you agent A, and this is from all of our numbers that we have, is going to see more interactions, more replies, a higher SMS reply rate from these consumers because their leads, they have more leads in other workflows. So more automation should be triggering. So naturally, more replies are going to come in. More that goes out, more that comes in. So right there, if we see that low, then we drill down to that metric by producer and be like, okay, it's Johnny Donuts here. We need to go sit down next to Johnny and kind of see what's going on instead of going after the entire team. So
Yeah, this stuff I could talk about all day with you.
yeah,
So
I
I
could
don't want to
too,
get into
for
a
sure.
rabbit hole, but is there a way for us to track how fast they're dispositioning the lead? Like I do think like if you get a new lead, right? Yeah, you know, the percentage might be the same after a long period of time, but if someone's getting a lead and then if they're contacting them within 30 minutes, let's say, like the percentage how fast they're just, you know, they're made that call and then they moved it over to pending contact versus the agent that takes a long time to work on a brand new lead.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a factor that comes into play. And kind of what I was saying before is that our advisor, like we help you walk through each and every stat in detail, week to week, and drive those results and help you know what kind of changes to make. And that was kind of on top of obviously what you using the CRM and kind of the other features that we have. But that's kind of the next step from the guide to kind of implementing the guide, right? And we'll kind of be there to help. And that's definitely one of the most common questions for an agent is, how do I know how many leads to buy? How do I know many leads to assign my producer? And that is one stat that we track is calls per lead. And we want to make sure that is kind of on the higher end. And if it's lower, or again, your agent can't work the leads, then it's okay to pause leads. And that's another thing that agents may kind of just from the past of working with these lead providers and rules set in place with how long you are allowed to pause or the minimum you're allowed to buy, that really isn't setting you up to scale. So if we kind of measure it where if their we call it work rate or their disposition rate is lower, then we're either taking that person, that producer off the round robin assignment, or if the whole agency's behind, because we might be even launching a new campaign that day, right, to follow up on older leads. I'm going to pause my new leads because I don't want to have a lead come in that I just paid for that we're not working it. And that's ultimately the number one question. If a lead comes in, how quick can we work it, and can we work it right away? So
Yeah.
it's really measured where, to your question, we use disposition rate in that aspect to kind of, are we working them quick enough? And if not, we're not caught up, then we need to do something and pivot.
Yeah, and I think that's really one of the most valuable things from my experience working with you is those strategy calls. Because one thing is to look at the data, but then what are you going to do with it? It just
Sure.
helps to have, well, not just someone who understands what you're trying to do, but also how to implement changes.
Yep.
So I just want to share with everybody that what you're offering here, okay, at an unbelievable rate too. I'm worried you're going to get eventually too busy. Um, is that these are one-on-one calls.
So yeah, if the 12 week is definitely kind of an education learning process, like very in depth. Every week we even launch kind of other campaigns for you, or campaign ideas, and really help kind of drill down to everything. But yeah, we also offer kind of a one-off. If you're able to export your data from your CRM, we'll develop a dashboard. We could have a call, a one-time call, and we go through that analysis based off of kind of what we see in our suggestions, and you leave the call with insights on how you can make changes to your marketing, but also help your team kind of be more efficient. And we have some other tools kind of in the kit to help out as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool to have a service like that where it's not like I mean, there's other programs that are great where you're in a group, but actually one-on-one going through your exact situation of your agency, looking at your numbers of your report and having somebody who understands those report. What are some of the most important, well, what are some of the questions you asked? We should probably, because I was kind of thinking that could be a frequently asked question is like, how many leads per producer you think is a good number? Start off with maybe agents that are newer with
Yep.
internet leads.
I always say at least 10 to producer. I mean, I say at least, but like 5 to 10 per producer, depending on if they worked them before, if they're familiar with working internet leads, are they expecting the call volume, the amount of like lack of conversations in the beginning just because they're internet leads, or is it Facebook advertising where they're a little more engageable, right? And are they ready for those types of conversations where they need to collect a little more information? So it all comes down to again, judging that disposition rate. And what's more important, and it's very common, and this is how we coach leads too, to pause your leads. And one thing that we educate on is cohorts. And there's one thing we educated your agency on, right? Where these leads close over time. All right. So a lot of agents and anybody spending money, right, expecting a return, we judge it pretty soon, right? Because I just dish that money out, I want to start seeing a return. But like we really can't start judging a conversion rate on a new lead source 1 week in, 2 weeks in, not even 3 weeks in, because those leads that I purchase week one, we should still be working through, again, 12 weeks, kind of the theme here, right? So you should be closing customers from the week one cohort. Let's say you bought 50 leads that week one, we're working them over time. And you're still going to have a very, very small conversion rate at the end, but still you're converting more over time. So your ROI, or your break even point, might be at 1 month or 2 months of working leads. And that's what you was revealing, and we need to find out. But it's also revealing to the producer as well, not only you as where your investment should be, but the producer should know that their sales this month aren't coming from leads only this month. I should be working leads and closing deals from prior leads. And that's how I kind of scale my sales myself.
Yeah,
So The other thing that goes hand in hand with cohorts is what we teach about is like lead buckets, where those same 50 leads, week one, 60% may have not responded, right? 20% quoted, blah, blah, blah on with X dated, the policy sold. Week two, the next week of working those same leads, now we probably are up to 2 to 4 calls per lead. So I have more conversations. So that means that 60% no response maybe now went down to 50%, which means that 10% is now more quoted, more closed, or more X dated, whatever it may be. And guess what? Week three, working those leads, those buckets are going to change again. So the whole idea is to exhaust those leads into until we can't follow up with them anymore. And of course, a big bucket is the not interested or a rate too high and that X dated, which we know we're going to follow them down the road, which now our cohort picks up in 6 months and we start seeing more customers on that cohort. So that's what's really important to understand. And sorry with the long answer, but if your agent gets 10 leads today, they're working those 10 leads today, but the next day, if they get 10 new leads, they're working those 10 leads and maybe 8 leads from the prior day before. And that's only 2 leads, that's 18 leads that they're working in a day now, right? So just you could do kind of the numbers, and yeah, you're going to have to pause a little bit to catch up. You may have moved all your new leads into a workflow, but I need to catch up on calling these people. So that's why we coach on, it's very common or we advise to always manipulate the round robin assignment of how leads are being distributed to who, depending on how they're converting, how they're working, or just pause leads. Let everything catch up. Let the numbers catch up.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at leads. You can't be looking at it as a short-term investment, but having the ability to look at those data because we had our weekly call right before, but there was last month we sold like 10 out of the leads that we bought like a year ago.
A year ago, yeah.
So that was pretty cool to see. And that's a great point also about, just adjusting the lead volume based on producer too, because one of my top producers right now, she doesn't even want any new leads for a whole week because there's referrals and there's other things that she's working on. So being able to adjust lead volume as you go. But I think agents that are new to lead purchasing, I think it is good to hear that there's a compounding effect to it, when you
Yep.
keep doing it consistently. So that's awesome. But yeah, what are some metrics? Okay, because there's a lot, reporting, and you said a lot of them are important, all the numbers matter.
Yeah.
But for an agent that was new to looking at reporting, it was a little intimidating. So what are some of the most important metrics every agency owner you think should be looking at?
Our what we use is what we call as our main KPI, which any business company should have as your key performance indicator. Okay. And our KPI, I'm going to throw another acronym at you, is PPL, is profit per lead. All right. So the existing kind of popular way, the old way of tracking kind of I mean, they used to call it return on investment for leads, but it's not tracking return, but it's tracking your cost per acquisition, your cost per policy, right? Your CPP or CPA, cost per acquisition. And that's your lead spend divided by customers. So it's in a business case sentence, it's saying how much you're paying for a customer. But that doesn't measure profitability because these customers may be extremely low premium. And at the end of the day, your commission isn't overcoming your cost. Or the opposite effect is that agents see a high cost per policy of maybe $500, which is really high. And they may want to shut down that source. However, you may be writing high premium business and it might be profitable at the end of the day because of the commission that's coming in over the cost. So that's what leads us to our profit per lead. So it's your commission that you write from those leads minus the lead cost. That's your profit. And then your profit divided by your lead count. And that is your profit per lead. So if you're paying a per lead price, you should be knowing how much you're making for a lead coming in. So for example, on a call today, an agent, like any agent should be, and we advise, is they're buying from multiple sources, right? You don't want to have a certain dependency. You want to kind of have a good mix, and one budget in mind, but that budget is constantly shifting between those sources and obviously introducing some new ones, whatever may be your play there. But out of these two sources that they were buying auto leads from, one, he was losing $6 for every lead that came in. And on the other source, he was making $1.86 for every lead that comes in. And technically we're okay with break even, right? We're only tracking kind of the commission from that initial term where we're not counting renewals, right? So it's up to the agent of what your PPL goal is, and how aggressive you want to be there. But we track it on a very, very high level. It's the first thing to look at. And if PPL is down, then that's when we drill down and look at the profit per lead by lead source or by producer, right? And it might be one producer that's really driving that down. And it's not an overall bad investment of the lead source. It's actually internally that we need to fix something. Or we also pivot that PPL by all the variables that we get on a lead, who they're currently insured with, their zip code, their age, their credit, and we run our PPL, our pivots on those variables. And that's where we can come, and this is extremely common and pretty safe to say that on average, 100% of agents' customers that they write from internet leads come from 5 to 10% of the zip codes that they're buying from. So that is revealing in a lot of ways, and depending on where kind of your analytical mindset, it could go two different ways, right? It can go one way is, well, I only want to buy from those zip codes that I'm converting in, and I want to block all the rest that I'm spending there and not getting any customers. Or the other way is separating out those profitable zip codes, treating them differently to try to get more volume from them and still run all the other zip codes, because again, it's volume, right? You still may be only getting 1, 2, 3 prospects from each of those zip codes where it's not really mature enough yet to even get customers or have a chance to get customers. So that's why you never really want to block a zip code unless it's something with underwriting and you absolutely can't write there. But that's where we really coach agents. You should have a big base account with all your vendors, and then we split off different pockets of gold that's working. And that's where the PPL tells us how much we can afford to pay more, because if you're breaking off 5% of your entire territory, you're not, and only limit to that, you're not going to get any volume, right? But if we know we can afford to increase our bid, and again, it might be only $1 a time, and I say bid, but your lead sources, whoever you're with, the more you pay, the more volume they should give you technically. It again depends on the lead source, but just tells you how much you can afford. But if you limit to five zip codes, you're not going to get any volume. But if they could promise you more by paying more, knowing your threshold, it's an easy decision. And then that way you still have your base account to pull off zip codes that are now hot or whatever it may be. So, and again, if our PPL is low, then that's where we drill down to all of other metrics. Is the disposition rate good? Okay, everybody's working their leads. Let's move on. SMS reply rate, it's between that 20 to 40%. So I think we're good there. Let's move on to quote rate. Quote rate is at 30%. Ugh, that's a little low. Let's drill down. Quote rate really isn't on the vendor. Let's look at the producers. But we could still obviously look at the vendor too. We should always look at everything. And then we could see that, oh, Johnny is dispositioning all the leads. He's actually making the most phone calls, but his quote rate is the lowest and below average and driving down the team's quote rate. Now it's telling me that we are either hesitant of quoting, we're giving up because the person's shopping for a price and we're not pitching enough volume, or it's their scripting. I need to step in and listen to some calls and help them on the phone to take them to that quote and to the sale. And so just by there, we drill down to one specific or a couple tasks that now we can go help that person out and track that metric, and hopefully kind of drives again all the other numbers. But with everything happening and then people having different days and who knows what leads we're getting, it's something that we'll always got to be looking at these numbers.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot to track. Yeah.
Yeah. Always looking at the numbers. What are some that was a lot of good stuff right there. A lot of good stuff. The profit per lead. Um, Do agents, some agents even calculate the commissions off of that, or is that going a little too deep?
No, that's what we do at Little Giant. Yeah. So we automatically calculate your commissions. Just tell us what your kind of auto or home
What
commission
about
rate
the
is, and then
producers
we do the
commission?
That's something that we could get into. It's just on the agency level, so you know how to help like your funds moving forward. If it's something where you have a, because again, you're an agent's commission model to their producers, not everybody's the same. So it's not something that can be like static on our end. But as far as the overall return on investment for those leads, that's where the commission comes in for us.
Nice. And would you say is like a healthy profit per lead? You've seen some, variables, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's, I mean, it's not really the question because it's where if I'm okay with break even, right? Then if it dips below break even, that's when I'm drilling down to the lead source to who to the culprit is, or the producers, or it's time to make optimizations and make some zip code adjustments or lead profile adjustments. But for a call today, we filtered by the last 12 weeks of data, excluding the last 2 weeks, because those 2 weeks, or another word from before, that 2 week of cohort is not matured yet, where I know we still may have closed some from there, but we're not done working them. I know we close leads on a longer period of time, so I don't want them in my numbers, because I know our PPL isn't the best there because we're not fully working them yet. So that's why we exclude that and look at a more mature date range, and then judge. So again, it's tough to say kind of what's a goal, because everything has its own PPL when you drill down. So, and when you mix in like because of your producer's sale pie, they should 100% have a piece of referrals. And those things, those organic kind of sales should be helping. I mean, again, we could segment your internet lead spend and that, but we still need everything at an agency level of what that PPL is. So it kind of outweighs each other, and then obviously drill down to paid only, and kind of really get into it to make decisions.
Yeah. I think one of the things that has really helped me is, sometimes you get worried, like, okay, if I start hiring more people, like, how do I know who's working them? And, how do I know if it's the right investment? So
Mhm.
with all this data, it really shows you, if you're some course correction that needs to be made, you can see it. And I think in the past, I was always worried, like, okay, if I have more than 10 producers, 20 producers, what I'm going to do? Like, how am I be able to coach people on what they need? But looking at the data has really helped me. And also lead source too. We talked about it, which lead sources are doing better and which ones are not. What are some common mistakes you think you see people, agency owners making when it comes to their CRM and automation?
Um, I think it's really making sure the producers have an efficient process and are comfortable with the process. Um, Also just being very comfortable, like conservative with their spend, and making sure that the leads are being worked. I think that's what I hear the most of, like agents see their spend, they go to their team, hey, how are the leads? And their team say, oh, the teams aren't that good. I'm not getting too many responses. And then they go back to the lead source. The leads aren't good. What changes can we make? Like that whole kind of circle, right? Where the more you work the leads, the more power you're going to have to know how to change the leads. The lead sources are not going to know how to change your leads. They're not. So the more you work your leads, the more you learn about the leads, and the more you can make those changes. Um, so yeah, I think that's the common mistake is knowing the type of agent, right? You may throw them in the fire of everybody's used to 20 leads a day. You throw them in the fire and you could be setting them up for failure. Or one producer may have the strategy of they want to quote every lead, no matter if they talk to them or not, just to get a quote out, which we do advise. And if that happens, then they're not calling that many, which means their calls per lead is down, but their quote rate is up. But another agent versus, I don't want to spend time quoting, I'm just going to call. And we could see, okay, they have different strategies, but it ultimately leads to the same conversion rate. And hey, if they're comfortable with it, they're comfortable with it. So it's really knowing how your producer is comfortable working too, or they're not going to be engaged in the process, be pumped about the process, and just yeah, won't see a return on either channel of lead sources being delivered to them or them themselves.
So the biggest mistake agents makes is buying leads and not working on
Yeah, yeah,
them.
yep.
What a surprise, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think yeah, it's an investment, and if you're buying leads, then I think you need the whole package. I think not only do you need a good lead source, and that's what the lead management helps us out with, but the lead management in the automation, those scripts, I think you could have the best lead source, but if you're not working them, if you don't have a management system, I
Yeah.
think the third piece is also the agents, or the producers, how well they are. So I think to have a successful sales operation and insurance agency, all three of things has to work. And I think the lead management is kind of what ties the other two together.
Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, you should find out quick if your producer should be a producer, should be service. But inevitably, everybody has their own business to scale, right? And you should have an end goal in mind of what kind of that team looks like or that production looks like and what you need to kind of get there. And how you pivoted is that we had your producers, I mean, grinding every day on these leads, trying to contact them, and they were good closers. But ultimately, they developed your process with of your help and guidance, but they put it into action. And along with our probably a million pivots and optimizations, little changes that we made, but ultimately they have a comfortable and we have a solid process that you're comfortable and confident in. And then, okay, wow, my team can really sell. I think we have it pretty down of the scriptings and how to get them to A to new lead to quoted. So what did you do? You kind of replicated that and turned another team into people that call the leads and work the leads up to that process and hand it over to your closers, which ultimately, if they're having more of those conversations, they're closing more deals. So it's always making sure that we have that scaling in mind. And that's the agents we like to work with, the ones that have scaling in their plan, in kind of their strategy. And internet leads are a beast. They're not the best. But again, working the right strategy and tracking the right numbers, they certainly can be. A lot of agents proved that for sure.
Yeah, it's funny how you talked about that, and I just thought about all the little things that we've done. I think that's an important point too. It's like a lot of times people think, if you should get the right source, that solves all your problems, like
Mhm.
what lead company, and once you have a lead company, that solves everything. But there's so many little things that we've done.
Yep.
It's really not, that's just the beginning, all the little tweaks that we've done, that's what really makes a big difference. And I think when you're working internet leads, you kind of need a partner. You just can't, it's so hard these days with all the metrics and all the automations. Like, how can an agency owner set up, you know, the right cadence of how to follow up and the sales buckets and
Yeah.
looking at cohorts? Like, I couldn't imagine trying to do everything on my own. What are some good questions that the agents are thinking about scaling? What kind of questions are they asking you?
Um,
What are they looking
Ultimately
at?
they ask me, "Hey John, what can we look at in the reporting today?" And they just leave with insights to go to their team or go to the sources to make changes. Yeah, and a lot of it could be is unexplained, right? Where you mentioned like with different lead sources, and when we did an analysis earlier on those two different auto sources, the customers that the zip codes were coming from each different source, none of the zip codes match, which you think and like you'd still be closing the same like business, same area. But that's how drastically it could change between source. You don't know. You have no idea until you work the leads, and we learn from the metrics.
Very awesome. Yes, and then the 12-week recipe, what else is in there that well, it's available to download, so we'll put the link in the description
Yep.
so everybody definitely check it out. But what other things that you could go over you think is important for agents to know on this, they could share on this call?
Um, I think it's really like we give a little 12-week worksheet as well, and all the stats that we go through, we put them in so you can actually do it do it yourself, or obviously lean on us for help. We also have a profit per lead calculator for to you to plug in your existing kind of results today to see what your PPL is. And you may use that by using one lead provider or a producer. You can obviously use it multiple ways to look at all your PPLs. And then also we have a profit forecaster, is if you do implement these changes and we should be seeing more deals, what your premium growth could look like week by week and over the 12 weeks. So along with coaching and all those stats that we cover, we hit on like bad leads and like what you should really think about bad leads, what bad leads really are. I think there's a huge amount of bad leads today that really should be X-dated and followed up with down the road, and they weren't really a bad lead. Also, all of us probably done it today when we fill out forms, we put in a bogus number. So we need to still do our due diligence on following up via email or whatever it may be, right? Until that lead may be kind of dead or kind of whatever it may be. So, and we really go into cohorts, the lead buckets. Yeah, and I don't want to kind of can't get into all 10 plus metrics, but the calls per lead, the quote rate, and we also give templates examples in there from what we know what works. So it's beefed up, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of information that's going to help everybody out. I was just taking a couple looks at it, and we've been working together for 4 years, and I was still like, huh, like tell me a little bit more about this. Like,
Yeah,
why
yeah,
didn't you tell me about this before?
yeah, yep.
Yeah,
That's like
a
when
lot.
you came to me like, hey, John, Google gave me this calculator to figure out profitability. And then we plugged in your numbers, and I'm like, well, Dan, it's right over here. You have this in Little Giant, and it was spot on.
Yeah, it was like a couple cents off, but yeah, the Google calculator, what they provided me to calculate my profit per lead, yeah, it was exactly spot on. So that, yeah, but man, what else is new in the world of automation? Or I know you're big on, using Chat GPT and things like that, but what excites you as far as the future of where this business is going or what you do for agents?
I mean, yeah, AI is a big thing that we utilize and tend to scale with. There are um some big industry changes happening in the future with how leads are collected and compliance and stuff, and new TCPA regulations that really may or may not impact the lead providers, but they kind of kick that can down the road to 2025. Who knows if that gets kicked even further? But the main point of it is like everything's got to be one-on-one or 1v1, where if they go to Dan Kitajima's website, then they better be speaking to Dan Kitajima. So that kind of whole deal. So we are rapidly deploying websites and kind of getting into the advertising, and basically just kind of prepping and making sure that that's something that we have and that we want to grow on, and be able to kind of extend that to agents so we're not dependent on lead providers. Definitely the biggest piece of new business today, but still always got to be prepared. But with the 12-week advisor guide, us meeting weekly, we will use our AI to help generate a campaign for that week or whatever it may be. It might be a sales competition, but we want to generate a campaign to help you follow up on leads that you quoted in the past and didn't close. And this way, through our weekly meetings and learning kind of the 12-week process, we're also implementing it and running campaigns on older leads and closing more business on your older leads to again help your return on investment from leads that you already spent on. So we definitely use RAI weekly with them to help generate the campaigns, the content, and hand it off to you to go implement. And again, if you need us to run it, we do it for you, whatever kind of avenue you want to go. So yeah, we definitely lean on that as much as possible
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
create stuff.
a lot of campaigns. Those are great ideas too, but also the compliance piece. I think that's another reason to work with a partner.
Hmm.
Um, can you share with us a little bit about how you may be different from other, resources that are out there, when it comes to CRM and CRM, management?
Sure. Yeah. We are extremely analytical. So nobody can really touch our reporting, and kind of our strategy there and how much we could drill down, phone calls, and SMS activity. So the reporting is by far a big differentiator, along with us helping you read the ports. And evolving your CRM. So it's one thing to have kind of a CRM set up with automation, but the old saying like evolve or evaporate, right? So you got to make sure you're constantly adding new campaigns, adjusting campaigns. So we're your partner that helps kind of do all that legwork, for, I mean, I don't want to say fraction of the cost, but nowhere near what's needed to be kind of spent for other CRMs. So we have a lot automated, which helps, but we want to spend the time on being hands-on with helping the agent grow, and meet as often as we can to do that, to help their sources and help their team and to really read the reporting, that tool that we give them.
Yeah, I think that's huge. What you've done for us. It's like sometimes I'm like, hey, I have a new campaign. I kind of want this to happen, this to happen. Here's the scripts, but going into the guts and actually setting it up. So sometimes I come up with a campaign and then write it out, and then you guys, just putting it together for us. I think that's huge too. What are some full campaigns? Because you work with other big time agents too. Shout out to Jacob Morgan for winning the Agent of the Year
Agent of the
at
year,
Farmers
yeah.
GC. Yeah. So when I saw him, he said, "Yeah, you are both of our secret weapons." That's kind of why I'm kind of hesitant on sharing it to the whole world because again, we're worried. But what are some cool campaigns you've seen some agents do that has you know were cool that got some results?
Um, Really, it's integrating not integrating, I shouldn't have said that, but with these, when we talk about lead buckets and obviously how a certain percentage get X dated, right, to follow up it down the road. Your workflow may be sending out that automated text, email down the road, and kind of maybe sending a task to your team. But just to make sure and to track that is happening, and to make sure we're working them, I think that helps in that campaign. Like the messaging in the templates might be have to be adjusted, right? So an RX data campaign is extremely complex, meaning that you could set a specified date for the campaign to start because something unique may happen where the consumer is like, I don't want to switch carriers until my actual renewal in 31 days, whatever. We could set that. Or if they have an auto claim, an incident, or a home claim, we have a campaign that starts off the fall off date and then goes. And I think those are lucrative to make sure we're following up on them. And the people that you quoted that haven't closed, to circle back around up on them. And that's always happening, right? Because as you work more leads, that bucket's always kind of recycling in and out. And these consumers, like they may be very motivated. Oh, I'm going to get new auto insurance this week. And then whatever happens, they wake up and they don't want to talk to anybody. But 2 weeks later, you hit them up. Hey, you still interested? I got like take 5 minutes of your time. Oh, yes. So again, it's hitting those people when they're ready to kind of talk. And that's why our communication shouldn't stop. So to always make sure we're kind of hitting up those quotes not closed and hitting our X dates when we should be. Those are the two easiest, I would say.
Yeah, that's an important strategy because again, it's an investment. You already have that lead, you already have that data. So not working on it, you're not getting the best out of that investment. So I think that's
Yeah,
important.
and that's kind of a struggle today where agents kind of are handcuffed with internal systems where if we want to run a campaign, I think we just did this with you recently. It's basically like rounding out your customers, right? Where we want to focus on the people that we sold auto to, but no home, or home, no auto. But certain internal systems, you can't segment like that or export what we need to even do that. So which makes it that much more important to also have another CRM, to have that backup database. It's your data and you need to own it. So we're running those campaigns too, but that's where it's nice, where if you have another team like customer service, where maybe their commission as well, that are motivated to kind of work these customers, or maybe have a relationship with them already, but using automation to help send that text to start that engagement, or whatever it may be. So in our CRM, we also have appointment settings. So that's used a lot more on that customer service side as well. But just be able to have that link for people to kind of see a calendar, pick a time, that's definitely helping on that end as well.
Yeah. I want to share with the audience a couple things that you really helped me out with. One of them is customer service tickets. Okay, because customer service was becoming such a huge role in our agency. And in the old days, before working with you, before we set this up, it was really hard to compensate for customer service because there's so much tracking. But with your help, we have customer tickets, open, claimed, closed, and if they're closed,
Yeah.
if the rate went up, if they didn't change, or if it decreased, and be able to compensate, $4 for an increase. I forgot, I don't know exactly what it is, but have actually compensations behind customer service activity. I feel like that has really increased our customer service level, and more customer service agents actually just the fact that it's being tracked. Compensation obviously makes a difference too. Running those reports daily, that has made a big difference. It seems like every problem I have, I go to you. And then there was like a life insurance one where we needed to hit some life insurance numbers or commission was impacted.
That one was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that one was really cool. I'm not sure if you want to do that for a lot of agents because it might have been a lot of work, but
It's a lot of conditional logic, but it works. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
thought he had some help too. You might need to get more help, but yeah, we take care of our customer service uh, work, or we sell a new policy and we have their date of
Mhm.
birth, and we just once that's in there, then they get a message of what life insurance rates start off with. So a teaser rate that gets the conversation started. And that has certainly helped us out with our life insurance numbers too. So
Yep.
yeah, just a lot of good things that come out of automation. Sometimes people are just not as um consistent,
Yeah.
as automation.
Yep. And planning is a big part of it, right? But if I'm a big believer in breaking things into chunks, right? Like it sounds like a big overhaul, big process, a lot to do, but just taking one step at a time. You don't necessarily know what step three is going to be, because like you and I do, we pivot every week, and now that we built this actually revealed this, and now we gotta figure out how to do this, and now that this worked, now I need more life producers. So hold on the campaigns, John. I need to go higher. So that's where
Which
you
has helped
can't,
me with too,
right.
the recruiting campaigns.
Yeah, yeah, the recruiting side I've automated that. So that's the thing. You can't be overwhelmed with kind of how quick can I get to this. It's taking one step at a time, and you're going to figure out the how later, and through the process. So, and those figure out those ahas, right? And again, everything's not going to be implemented at one time. It's impossible, and it's not scalable for somebody to be trained on 50 campaigns, right? So it's, and I don't know how you do it with a new hire now with how many campaigns, but I guess that's something else we may have to do, build a course
Yeah,
for them or something. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but
Onboarding.
that's one thing that we that I kind of want to just put out there as well.
No, yeah, I think that's so true. It's like first figuring out the constraint, and that's what the data helps us out with. So figuring out the constraint of the business, and once you figure that out, then it's like the next constraint and the next constraint. You can never predict what the next constraint will be. So that's why it's so important to have like a meeting schedule with you weekly. I'm every week I'm just like, okay, like I can't wait for that day because I got this like constraint that I gotta like figure out here. That's how the business evolves. You just really can't foresee what's going to happen in this business. There's always going to be a new challenge, but it's like
Sure.
next challenge, um, taking care of that one, and then next one's gonna be right around the corner. So yeah, a lot of good stuff there. Maybe we could share with the audience a little bit about the pricing of your services, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. Um, let me just. Okay. So again, the guide is free. You can kind of get that access to the link below. Once you are viewing the guide, there's next steps to kind of get a what we're calling your DIY kit for the 12-week guide, and that's what gets you into your like a free CRM that you can kind of to utilize. But that's where our tools are, the 12-week worksheet, the calculators, and those kind of tools to help you implement the complimentary guide. The next level is to lean on us, use us as a partner, which kind of you were mentioning before. You kind of need to have a partner, and we help implement our strategy of the 12-week guide, and that is for $125 a week for 12 weeks, or if you pay up front, it's 20% off. And that's where we'll meet with you weekly for 6 weeks, and then every other week after that. But each week, if we're ready for it, again, we'll launch new type of campaign follow-up and give you templates to kind of use and run with, along with gathering your data and going through a dashboard together and going through those metrics to make sure that the team and we're working them. So at the end of the day, end of the 12 weeks, we can, or at the 6-week mark is where we first make our optimizations for changes on your lead providers, lead sources, marketing, and inside of that, helping producers' activity as well. And then the next 6 weeks is to make sure we're progressing and seeing how those changes really make. So that's kind of that 12-week guide to be really hands-on, help you grow your premium each week on your existing leads, old leads. And then, of course, we have our CRM that's completely built out to handle a new lead on day one and the whole process to kind of work them through to the end of being a customer with a Google review or ex-dated or lost, whatever it may be. And we have a kind of a self-guided CRM for it starts at $150 a month, where you get all of those with the campaigns, and it's self-guided where you get all access to training videos, you still have support, and it's one user, but you get a fully functional CRM, unlimited calls, unlimited texts, $150 a month. Again, billed annually, might be 20% off. And then our user cost is one of the lowest in the industry. But if you're looking at 2 to 5 agents or seats, it's $30 a user. And again, that includes that unlimited calling and text. But then we have our guided CRM, where that's where you get those calls that you and I do very frequently during the month, and you get us to help you continue to manage your CRM, evolve your CRM, run new campaigns, go through the reporting, come up with the insights, help you communicate to your lead vendors, your lead providers on what changes to make, what new lead profiles to open up. And again, like you and I do, we're evolving every week. So that's where we're involved on top of the CRM, and that starts at $350 a month for one user, unlimited calls, texts, and then that same user cost.
Nice.
So the last thing is if none of those kind of are your fit today, and hey, John, I've been working leads forever now. I have the data, right? We'll take your data today and generate a reporting dashboard for you. We have that available for $75 a month. And then if you do want to jump on calls to help analyze or any type of coaching calls, we do have calls only separate as well. So,
Wow.
but I could put that link or it's linked within that 12-week process of going through the guide. You'll see those packages there as well.
Nice. It sounds like you got something for everybody.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Again, education. We want to spread this. Yeah.
It's not like one package, take it or leave. It's kind of like, what do you need help with? Is it the calls? Is it the CRM? is it both, or is it just the reporting?
Sure.
So I think that's awesome how you designed your services for agents because you truly just want to help with how you can with so many different ways so they could pick and choose what they need help with right now. And again, that will continue to evolve too. So yeah, you're just best kept secret out there. So hopefully this will um help other agents, because it certainly has helped me, has helped multiple PC agents in the farmer's family. So yeah, I'm excited to share and just keep working with you, and keep building my agency to I'm just really excited about the future because how much just looking at the data was kind of cool today to kind of see where we came, but then I'm even more excited about where you're going to help us get to.
Yes, yeah, we are looking for more invested agents like yourself that are kind of willing to spend the time with us to make sure we can make positive changes, and that's what drives us is success stories like yourself.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about where the name Little Giant came from.
I mean, pretty simple, but turning little agencies into giants ultimately. Yeah, and I love the ladder. The ladder's great. Who doesn't like the ladder? But but no, it was and yeah, it was turning little agents into giants.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about what you do
Yeah.
for us agents out there. So yeah, we'll put the link in the description there. Full guide, everybody check it out. I mean, it's free, so check it out, the guide. And there's going to be so much if you're buying leads already. If you're not, there's just so many things to learn in this business. I think it's important for us agents to acknowledge that we have a lot to learn, in so many different spaces, and we just can't do it all by ourselves. So what you offer to our agents is so valuable. And we just once again want to just show my appreciation of helping me get to this point, and also just acknowledge you for the skill that you have, which is um, really valuable. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not easy. Tell us a little bit about how you learned all this. I mean, did you always like data?
Yeah, I mean, once I got kind of trained in Excel and I used to work on the lead provider side and kind of really seeing kind of a missing component is like how can we judge agents and how can agents judge us if we don't know what each other's doing? Like we don't know their disposition in the lead and they don't know where our lead came from, you know? So that's where I kind of broke off, started Little Giant to have our own kind of CRM to help agents build it out. But ultimately we learned, oh wow, we should be tracking this metric so we can make this decision. And oh, we should be tracking this metric to make this decision. And I think you have your own secret like Dan metrics that we even created because of all your processes. So like marketer transfer rate and stuff. That's not even something that we talk about in the guide is transfer rate. But um so it's I love kind of being analytical and just being a business owner myself and helping all kinds of companies. It all comes down to your data and making decisions from those numbers. And once you can confidently do that, I think it's addicting and it's a better avenue to scale because I'm more confident of where I'm putting my money, my investment. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, very well said. I think one of your favorite quotes is where energy goes, where attention goes, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's right here on my wall. Where focus goes, energy flows. Yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
So yeah, knowing where to put your energy is one of the keys to operating a business. So yeah, a lot of good stuff, John. Everybody, please check out, the link, 12-week recipe for internet lead success. Let's all, yeah, thank you for sharing, your knowledge and helping us stay profitable. It's been a challenging year for insurance, but the more challenging it gets, the more data we need. So I'm really excited to put this out. Anything at the end you want to share with the agents or anything else we missed, do you think?
Oh man, I mean, no, nothing I can think of right now. Um, yeah, if you're spending money on internet leads, I advise to know the metrics of them for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, well, you probably won't say it yourself, but just a great guy, and just I think that goes a long way with who you want to work with too. So and your availability, I've always appreciated. So whatever happens as you become a giant yourself, just make sure you save that time for me. in our weekly
Oh
calls.
yeah, you got it. You're prioritized.
All right. Just remember, yeah, we've been working together for a long time. So yeah, thank you, John, for being on the show again for a second time. I continue to looking forward to continue to work with you, and thank you for all you do.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I love these conversations, no PowerPoints or anything. I like it. It's relaxing and just talk right off the top of our head and really comes out like yeah, I love just to kind of talking analytical and kind of success about your business and again how we can help. So I appreciate your time on this as well.
Yeah, no, it was a great conversation. I have some notes in here, so we're gonna get deeper in a couple other things that we didn't have time to. So I'll say that just for myself.
Nice. There you go.
All right,
Cool.
John, thanks again.
All right. Thanks, Dan.